All right, guys. So we are on episode 4 of Discover You podcast. My name is Dominic Acuna, and for the listeners out there, I'm a personal trainer slash content creator. I've been training for 8 years now. I started back in 2014, and content creation came into the mix whenever I started to market more and use social media platforms more aggressively, and I had to learn how to create and produce the content for myself so I can keep putting content out. And right here we're doing the podcast with my friend slash mentor, Scott Malouff. Yeah, Scott, if you want to give a brief intro about who you are and what you do.
Appreciate it, Dom. So my name's Scott Malouff from San Antonio, Texas. We have a real estate team out here called Malouff International Group. Also have a short-term rental management company called Rest and Escape Vacay, and then we're involved with the Malouff and Maroon is a partnership I have with my cousin on developing and buying homes when it comes to real estate. So I've been in real estate now for 7 years. I started with Keller Williams, and I'm still homegrown when it comes to them.
Nice. So starting off, I guess a main, starting point when things started to, you developed a name for yourself was real estate, but what were your intentions before? Was it always real estate or?
So I started back in high school. I started doing high school clubs. That's when I started actually getting involved in the networking and building a platform for myself. So when I was around 14 years old, I started promoting with a company called A&H.
Okay.
And A&H was, they were doing all the high school parties out here in San Antonio. So they were doing them at the Atrium. They were doing it at Graham Central Station, Antro, Access, Metropolis, Planeta. They were doing all the team parties back then. And so I started promoting for them when I was around 13, 14, passing out flyers. And one of the main guys, his name was Abe, he came up to me and said, "Hey, do you want to get paid for this?" So I said, "What does that look like?" So he was like, "Well, I'm going to pick you up from school, and you're going to go to all these other high schools inside of San Antonio and act like you go to school there."
Wow.
So I was going inside of every high school during lunchtime or after school and passing out flyers. And that's why everyone sees me, "Oh, I went to school with him." And I'm like, "Yeah, I don't remember." But yet majority of them don't actually, I didn't really go to school with them. Yeah. Then when I turned 18, I started doing 18 and up parties. And the owner of Antro, he wanted to kick off a night. So I told him, I can do it 18 and up. I got a good following when it comes to that, and I got because I've been promoting for the last 5 years. I know everyone 23, and then plus we had the street flyer game that we would do on a high level. So he invested in me to bring down Pitbull back then. That was the first concert I threw at 18.
Wow.
So Pitbull was $12,500 back then. Now he gets $500,000. We brought him to Antro, and then we did that party, and that kicked off a night there. And then same thing happened with Planeta. We brought Fabulous to kick off the night there. And then I had different clubs back then from Soleil, Pure, Metropolis, Downtown Sway, Zen Bar. I mean, we had a long run of clubs that we did back then. And then I started artist management too. So when I was around 23, 24, so I was still doing the teen parties here with the 18 up parties. And there was a kid named AJ Hearns back then. He had a little dance group, and he was one of the promoters that were promoting for our team parties. And we talked to him about hey, have you ever thought about? He was promoting for us. Yeah, he asked him if he ever thought about singing and all that. So we got him involved in that scene where he started singing. Got him a vocal coach. Then from there, that kind of got him in the studio, got him some good features back then, B-Hamp and some other ones.
So would you say that was an initial goal for himself, or is that something y'all kind of said here, this is the industry, this is something you should do?
He had the goal, yet it's something that we kind of pushed him over.
For sure.
It was like, well, let's get you, because Making the Band was big back then with Diddy. Mm-hmm. And Unkra was the guy that did the vocal training for Day 26. So we got him with the same vocal coach that Day 26 and Diddy was using.
Yeah.
And then
he was local?
No. We flew out to New York for that. Local, he was using an R&B artist named Greg G to do his vocal coaching back then.
Wow.
And then so we kind of blew that up. We went on tours.
Now, is that something that's ongoing, the vocal coach, or is that something that's like you do it for a certain amount of months and then you just touch base?
In that industry, you should always have a vocal coach.
For sure.
It's the same like training. I mean, you're always going to have a trainer.
Yeah.
So singers have vocal coaches. I mean, that's just what they do.
Cool, man. Cool.
So we did that, and then so back then I was also managing Lil Wayne's DJ 45, and 45 was he was fabulous as DJ. That's how I first met him. Well, then they started DJing for Wayne, and we would have AJ perform for the club. So we would do the after party for 45 from Wayne's shows. So when Lil Wayne would perform, we would have the after party, and we have AJ perform at the after party. Well, Cortez Bryant. Yeah. He would show up to the after parties, and he'd be like, "Oh, is that your artist?" And we were like, "Yeah, that's my guy." So he was like, "Do you want him to open for Wayne on the rest of the tour? How many more dates y'all got?" Yeah. So he put us on the Lil Wayne Farewell tour before Wayne went to jail. We were on 12 dates for that, and Tez was managing Drake back then too. So when Drake started doing his dates, he would come to Texas, and we would do the Texas dates. Well, when we're doing the Texas dates, we're finessing, and we're like, yo, so then we get the next state, and the next city, and the next city. And we did that for 3 tours. So we went on 3 tours with Drake. We went on tour with Wayne. We did Sean Kingston. We did a couple other things around the country. And then he just continued to do it. He just finished like a 40-day tour with us, Know the Product. So he's doing his thing. Yeah. And then I also had kiosks in the malls. So I had those going on too. It's called Shoe Magic. I had 20 of those around the country. So I had some in Cleveland, some in Charlotte, some in Winston-Salem. Then I had here in San Antonio, Laredo, and the Valley.
So that's pretty much a franchise, right?
Yeah, I had it franchised. They're out of L.A.
And how did you get hooked up with them?
So AJ did one of his album release parties at Soul Boutique, and we had them sponsor the album release. When they did that, I became really cool with the guy that franchised the one at Ingram. Then he was like, well, you want to open another one? Then I just started opening them. And then I started opening them by myself because the first one I partnered with him.
By then you already knew how to do it.
Mm-hmm. And then what had happened was, like, I had him in Cleveland. So I was getting robbed here, robbed there, because I wasn't everywhere. And I learned once I got in real estate, there's a class called Expansion System Operations that teaches you how to expand. So I learned a lot when it came to that. So I sold all of the kiosks, got out of that, and then the clubs were still going on. Yet I feel everybody has a gift, and you got to utilize your gift for the right purpose.
For sure.
I have the gift of being a connector, yet I was not connecting for the right reasons. Back then when I was connecting for, hey, let's go out and party tonight. This is where we're going. And I would get a call the next day about such and such got a DWI, or this person got in a fight with this person and I'm squashing their beef. Like, it wasn't fulfilling. So I needed to make a transition, and some stuff happened at one of my parties where I was like, yeah, this is it. Like, I'm done. So a
turning point?
Yeah, and you learn the word decide. So like pesticide or suicide to kill off. Decide stands for the death of all of the options. So when you decide to do something, there's no other option. So you put a date behind it. A goal without a date is just a dream. So I put a date. I said, you know what, this is the date when I'm going to stop being a promoter and I'm just going to be fully into real estate. So I picked that day. It was my birthday, almost 6.5 years ago. I said, this is the last time I'm going to do club promotions. I'm done with it.
And that was the first shift?
That was the shift, yeah.
Okay.
And then I went full into real estate. And then that first year full in real estate, my rookie year, I sold 85 properties that year as an individual agent. Wow.
Who was your mentor?
I've had different mentors throughout my life. So in the beginning was my mom and my grandfather and my grandma and my uncle. So I've had family support.
Were they in real estate or no?
No. My uncle's in real estate now. He was in the Air Force back then. Everybody was Air Force, actually. So I never knew my father. So it was my mom that she's always been the one. And then I had support from my grandparents. Yeah. Then when I got into high school, the team parties, I had Abe and Hannah. And I also had a good core of friends. When I turned 18, K-Rock. K-Rock was a guy that he's well known here in San Antonio, like in the nightlife scene. And then when I got in real estate, it was Steve Collins and Craig Owen, and then over time, I met Jordan Freed, and then now we just continue to have more and more mentors show up. In the spiritual side, I've had, different priests too over the years, like Father John when I was in high school. Wow. He was from the Maronite church that I go to. And then Pastor Ed's been somebody lately with our team that's been able to help me on the spiritual side too.
Mm-hmm. So going, I know you just kind of gave your whole spiel and a lot of your journey, but starting back in high school, the whole club promoting thing, jumping into that, how easy was it for you, or how hard was it for you to start, making things happen, getting the people on board, getting people to follow you and stuff like that?
So back then it was a hustle. You would pass out flyers, we would get bricks of 5,000 flyers and we'd pass them all out. It wasn't, because this is before Facebook. MySpace wasn't really out. It was out, but it wasn't what it was. We were more AOL, AIM. I mean, that's kind of where it was.
Yeah.
So we would pass out flyers crazy. We would flyer up cars, flying up parking lots, go inside of the mall, put a stack of flyers in every store. We'd ask for permission. So we would have flyers everywhere. We would flyer the every car in the mall parking lot.
How did you feel doing that? What was your thought process doing it?
It was just a hustle. Keep going.
This is what has to be done.
It was like a tunnel vision. Once you moving, it was just boom, boom, boom. We would be at Fiesta, Ham, the damn Ham show with the beat. He just came out with the damn Ham show, so he hired me and my boy Meech. We were the two people that did the street team for the beat, and this is when they first started the damn Ham show. So this is back in the day. And it was just getting in front of as many people as possible. And then we made call list. So we had call list of people we would call for the team parties. When I would go inside of these high schools, I would see who's the most influential, who's the popular person. Mm-hmm. And I would talk to that person and become friends with that person. And then that person would get the calls of, hey, I'm coming to your school tomorrow. Yeah. He'll look for me at lunch. And then that's how I just ended up meeting a lot of people back then. So it's always been just a straight hustle, even from young.
And so when I think of hustle, I think of a reason why. There has to be a reason, right? Or what was?
So my mom stopped working when I was 13 years old. She had multiple sclerosis. Wow. So my mom, I didn't have a dad. I had my mom. She was a single mom. She got paid from the Air Force because she was a disabled vet. Yeah, that was a limited income. Mm-hmm. And she was blessed to be able to buy her first house when I was in 10th grade. Before that, we rented. We were in a small 2-bedroom, 1-bath house. It was different. So when she got multiple sclerosis, it changed because I would see other people with these type of clothes that I wanted or certain things. Back in high school, I wore throwback jerseys with a fitted that matched it and Air Force Ones that matched it. So I always wanted to
You wanted to keep that up?
Yeah, and for me to do that, I had to make sure I made my own money. So those are things I had to do.
And then getting linked up with, I forgot the guy's name. With Abe,
yeah. It just happened to be we were at the team party, and we were there early.
For sure, and he was just you want to get this gig, and you just did it.
So I had my hardship license at 14, so I was the one that would drive everybody all the time.
Cool.
So we would get to the team parties early, and he had forgot his phone at Fuddruckers. So I had to drive him to Fuddruckers to get his phone. And that's how we first met him, because he was like, man, I forgot my phone. Could somebody give me a ride? Yeah. And that's how I met him.
So when it comes to networking before, you had different intentions, but whenever there was a shift into real estate, how did the thinking change? Whenever you knew you were going to a specific place where you were going to network, or just in general, what would you say how your headspace changed from that to real estate?
I had to change a lot of what I did and a lot of the habits I had. Mm-hmm. Because when I was in the nightlife, the club, I wasn't working on my mindset. I just had the hustle mentality, which was good. Yet I didn't have the mindset of, the people you hang around and certain things. I didn't read books. There were certain things I just didn't do until I got into that world. And being around the coaching and the mentors that were in that world was a whole different than what I was around when it came to the street mentors. Mm-hmm. So those were two different type of mentors, yet putting that together with the street mentality with an education behind it now of like, okay,
Yeah.
this is what this is the type of mindset I need to have, and these are the type of things we need to do on a day-to-day basis to create these habits that are going to get you successful. Then that's kind of what got us there. We learned that it takes 66 days to create a habit. So I was like, okay, I'm not going out for 66 days. I'm not drinking for 66 days. I'm not doing this. And I had to disconnect myself from a lot of people that I grew up with. And I still have love for them. I'm always going to have love for them. But just for me to grow where I was growing, I had to kind of separate myself just to get there.
And, was there that like fear of missing out during those initial times of you transitioning into that?
Yeah. It's funny. One of my coaches said this the other day. So there's FOMO and there's JOMO. So fear of missing out, and then you have joy of missing out. So now I have the joy of missing out on certain occasions. I'm like, yeah, I'll catch y'all later. Like,
I've been there, done that. Yeah. Cool, man. Yeah, that's crazy. How long did you say that? Would you say you're still like progressing, still learning on that mindset? Like versus you said it was like about 6.5 years ago up until now is where you're at with everything.
Yeah, I'm still learning. You stay with the growth mindset, not a fixed mindset. So you always got to stay in a learning process. And then in life, sometimes your focus shifts. Like you have pivots and seasons is what we call it. Yet at times you might be working for this, and that. And when you accomplish it, that's only a temporary goal. So you got to have goals bigger than momentary moments, because say like you get this award, or you're chasing a certain dollar amount, or you're going to be on a certain platform. Well, once you're there, that chasing goal is gone, because you're like, well, I hit that. Yeah. Now what? And you got to start thinking bigger.
And what steps did you take to get bigger? Just to continue to surround yourself with the higher mindset people, or
you got to continue to think bigger for others. It's not about, so with me, it's not about me. It's about them. It's about the people that are in my world, and it's figuring out how can we make them bigger? How can we make them better? And a lot of times I've had to recharge myself, because you can get overworked in any industry. Yeah. And if you don't take time for yourself, that high performance, high recovery, y'all have that in the workout world. People do the high recovery. Yeah, when it comes to business, a lot of times people don't do the high recovery. So they just do the high performance, work, and they don't take that time to recover, and that's when they get burnt out.
What are your steps on high recovery? Or what would you suggest? Or
so there's a system called W137. W stands for wellness. Once a week, doing an hour of wellness for yourself. It's a massage, it's a facial, whatever it is, cryo, whatever it is for you. You do that once a week for an hour. Yeah. The 1 stands for 1 day a week. You just take completely off. The 3 stands for once a month. You take a 3-day weekend, and the 7 stands for once every 4 months. You take a 7-day trip. This is how you create that high recovery for yourself to be able to continue to stay focused and get back into business.
And how did you get introduced to that?
I was coached on that too. I was coached to that.
And when you say coached, I know that these mentors enter your life, like, for example, you entered mine, but there's also mentors that you seek out as well. Like, for example, somebody seeks out a personal trainer. Is there other coaches that you sought out? And
you should have different mentors for different parts of your life. Like, sure. I'm not going to seek out a personal trainer that's 400 pounds that's eating a hamburger every 3 times a day. Like, when you look at the people that you want to be in business with, or you want as your mentor, you have to really dive in deep and see sometimes what's behind the doors, because a lot of times everything can look good from the surface. What's really deep down with these people, and over time those things will get exposed. So for myself, I have a business coach, I have a spiritual coach, we have a physical coach, and then even having somebody that you can talk to as like a personal coach for like therapist, like just to help you through life and see your blind spots that you might not see. All of those are parts of coaching, I feel, that everybody needs in their life.
And you feel like, I feel like I know the answer to this question, but, maybe for the viewers, like, as far as like self-doubt, of yourself, or something that you're going after, has that ever happened to you, or have you ever felt that way?
So it happens, and you learn from those things. So it's not that it's doubt. It's just you when you fail, you learn. Fail stands for first attempt, I learn.
Mm-hmm.
So when you fail, you're actually learning to be able to grow. And then you're like, okay, well, that didn't work. Let me do something else. You can't have ego when it comes to situations either.
Yeah.
Ego stands for eliminate growth opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
So when you have ego when situations arise, you're not going to be able to grow to be able to learn from what you just failed on. So then you're not going to be able to move to that next season or be at the next stage, and you're going to stay at a certain ceiling because of your ego and not being able to let go of what happened.
Let go, or maybe you're blaming it on something else or someone else.
Mm-hmm. There's a book called Extreme Ownership that talks about that. Like even when you're wrong, still take the blame. It's still, when you still take extreme ownership, no matter what the situation is, that's how you're able to overcome things and just move forward and say, you know what did I do wrong here?
Yeah.
What did I do wrong here that I could have done better? You know, maybe I just wasn't the right mentor for these people to be able to help them see how they should be talking to people or how they should be dealing with situations that put us into this situation.
But overall, there's an initial decision to move forward with, I guess, like those decisions, right? So like, but is there anything that scared you along the way? Like, man, like this is a pretty big goal. Like, of course you got to have like big goals, big dreams and stuff like that. But is there anything that you're like, wow, like, that's me, like I could be doing that, or like, that's my next step. Like, damn, how am I going to get there?
So I think we have some type of fear at times that like, man, when I get here, what's going to happen? Yeah, it's not about the goal. It's who you become on track to reach that goal. Okay. It's who you become on track for that journey, the person you're becoming. So the goal is just a temporary moment. It's the process, that is important.
Nice. And who you become in that process is going to help you make those decisions a lot easier, right? Nice, man. What would you say, this is a good one, what would you say is your definition of success?
Success is fulfillment. So there's a difference between significance and fulfillment. If you think of significance, you can think of Robin Williams. He walks in a room, everybody loves him, he's a funny guy, he was the man. Yeah. Everybody knew who he was. Mrs. Doubtfire, he kills it. Yet fulfillment, there's obviously he wasn't fulfilled, he committed suicide.
Yeah.
So when you think of fulfillment, what is it that's going to give you significance where you're still fulfilled at the same time? And everybody's definition of fulfillment is different. So you might think somebody else could be fulfilled by this, yet you actually might be hurting them by pushing them in those positions. And there's been people in my life, in my world, where I've like selfishly been like, you know what, you need to do this, yet not realizing that's not going to fulfill them like it fulfills me. And I have to talk to them and ask questions and see what is important to them, where they see themselves, and then let them go out and do that. And
that turns into mentorship. So with your team of real estate agents that you have, how often do you like revisit with them, to make sure they're on track with everything, and y'all are seeing eye to eye with everything?
So my goal is to talk to our top 20% on our team on a daily basis or weekly basis. And then we've created leaders inside of our organization. So true leaders don't develop followers, they develop more leaders. So we have other leaders in our organization that meet with a lot of the other people in our organization and see what's important to them. Now I still have a relationship with everybody, and I'm always, my door is always open to talk to them and see what's going on with them. Yet for us to continue to scale, we have to have more leaders inside of our organization that are going to help everybody else grow at the same time.
Does that tap into what you mentioned earlier? There was a term or phrase you said about expansion that you had learned along the way with the kiosk business?
That's funny you said that. Yeah. So ESO is a class that we took, and ESO talks about expanding to the next city over, and that's how you expand. Well, in that class, when we took it the first time, I was like, man, this class, it talks about expanding and growing these teams around the country. Why can't we do that inside of our city? Like, why do we have to leave the city to do this? Why can't I just do the same model and run that here? And that's what we did.
Yeah. with your real estate agents, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. No, that's awesome. There was something else I wanted to ask you about that, but as far as like going back into failure, how often like you fail, right? And then I know it's a part of like growing you as a person, but like, is there like a sense of like having it all, and then have you ever like had it all or felt like you're at a super high place and you failed so much that you were just like at the bottom again, or you hit rock bottom at some point?
Yeah, I've been there. When I was promoting, I was promoting, and I was doing 4 or 5 times a week, and then it broke down to two times a week. But the money I had making from the club would go to pay for the artist, for AJ, or would pay to keep the kiosk running for inventory.
Yeah.
And then I send my son to private school at the same time. So all the money I had coming in was going right back out. Yet my people thought I was here, yet really I was here. So financially I was making the money, yet it was just staying afloat to the point where I was broke. And I was like, man, I don't know what I'm going to keep doing. Like, I mean, I make the money, but then the bills are so high. I had so much fixed expenses that it didn't matter how much money I was making because I had to put it right back out. So that was something too. I went to a poker game, and I gambled at the same time. So I went to a poker game one night, and this is right before I got in real estate, and I gambled away my last like a couple $1,000, and I was like, man. And I was driving home, and on the way home, something happened, and I had a defining moment happen to me on the way home. Yeah. Where I didn't get in an accident or nothing, but it just or DWI, just a defining moment happened to me. Yeah. Where I had to stop, and I went to my church, St. George Maronite. So when I went there, there's a little prayer chapel there, and I walked in there and I prayed and asked God to put into me so I can put into others. And I couldn't pass my real estate test, my real estate license test. It took me over 20 times to pass it. I probably got a record for the most times that test ever been taken.
It's like, how do you walk out of that room? Like, you have these people that are waiting to hear, like you did. I'm pretty sure you had people that were close to you at the time waiting to hear,
family,
like, if you passed.
I stopped telling them when I was taking it. Yeah, I didn't even tell them I was taking the test. I just go take it. Like, dang. But I wasn't ready at the time. So everything happens in the right time, for the right reasons. So when that happened, I prayed, called my mom. She said, come home. So I prayed on it. I asked him to put into me, to put into others. And I made some promises to him. And the next time I took the test, I passed. Wow. It was
literally right after that.
Yeah. So my faith has helped me get through a lot of challenging moments. Yeah. And when I hit that rock bottom, like you said, my faith has helped me get over that, to know like things will be better. Things will always be better. Everything is just temporary. And if you just stay calm and just, let things happen and process things and pray on it, you'll be able to move to that next season and get in a better place in your life.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, man. Now, when it comes to other people and you're in those low situations and your surroundings, your environment, maybe now, like today, like with your team, your real estate agents, if maybe you're going through something, or maybe you're having a rough week or a rough day, how do you move? Like, how do you what's your attitude?
So the biggest costume in this world is a smile.
Yeah.
People hide behind smiles all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. My mindset is now, it's no longer about me. It's about others. So I became a little bit numb to emotion, which could be good and bad. My emotional intelligence is good at times, yet I know at times I could hear something and listen and understand it. And some things I'm like, just, it's going to be all right. It's going to be all right.
Yeah.
And some things you have to really dive in deep with that person.
When you're saying emotional intelligence, are you saying knowing your emotional state or knowing others?
Knowing others. So I know my emotional state, and I got to the point where it's no longer about me. It's about others. So my emotional state, this isn't healthy, yet I numb it by staying productive. I don't say the word busy yet. Productive.
Productive, correct.
I numb it by staying productive, and then also helping other people with their issues.
Making sure they're good.
So that could be a little bit of a challenge as we continue to grow, because you should cope with things when they come.
Mm-hmm.
Yet I just work.
Yeah. So. Do you find it hard, like, if someone, like, you know, maybe you have an objective, right, to complete, to finish, which is, of course, part of productivity, you know, and somebody is, like, you know, being a negative person, or maybe they're more concerned about yourself, and they're asking you personal questions. Like, how do you, like as far as, like, you know, maybe if they ask you, like, are you okay? Are you doing okay? And have you ever had anybody that was, like, persistent about things like that?
I have.
And how do you communicate yourself the best way that you can?
Yeah. So when I'm dealing with situations, not many people can realize I have something going on.
Yeah.
Because I mask it so well.
For sure.
So nobody knows really when I'm dealing with anything, except for maybe like a handful of people.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to shift my energy. And
yeah,
I'll know when my energy's down or something's wrong, because somebody will say something like, "You good?"
Yeah.
And I just have to, like, and then my energy shifts. So,
yeah, just in that instant.
Mm-hmm.
For sure, because you've been there and you've been able to.
And I know how it is with other people. I mean, I've seen it with other people where their energy could suck up a room, and I don't want to be that guy.
For sure.
Yet at times you got to have that conversation with people. We talk about it in our team, and we learned this, that we never look down on somebody unless we're helping them up. Nice. And we figure out how we help people up all the time is talking to them and asking. The word ask stands for always seek knowledge. And we're always seeking knowledge to understand what somebody's going through, or what moments they're going through in life that they're going to have to work through. Mm-hmm. There's no such thing as a bad day. There's just bad moments, and it's how you let a moment affect you on how your day's going to go. Mm-hmm. If it's not going to matter in 5 years, it shouldn't matter in 5 minutes. So you got to let those situations just say, you know what, I'm going to have the memory of a goldfish and let it go. 5 seconds.
What happens if you have someone on your team that's not following that? Are consistently not following that?
It's conversation. We have to have conversations and ask questions and dive in deeper and see what's really going on. What's the root of the situation? What are they holding on to that they have to let go of?
Mm-hmm. Is that something, you know, in the beginning may have been hard for you? For you yourself having that conversation with someone?
No, because I've always been like, I like to be around positivity. Positive thinking equals positive results. Negative thinking equals negative results. Yeah, I like to be around the positive room. So when somebody is talking negative, it's just saying, change the way you look at things. The things you look at change. Mm-hmm. So when you start looking at things different, and you shift their mind to look at it different, that's when the energy can shift too. Yeah,
but that alone, which you would say is a process, you know, getting them to possibly think about it a different way or shift their mindset.
You have to. It is a process, yet life's too short to hold on to things.
For sure.
Like, there's no such thing as tomorrow. They're just right now. I mean, I could leave here and something happen, God forbid. Yeah. Yet, you never know. Like, something could happen at any moment. We only have the moment we're living in today.
Yeah. You know, going back to, you know, throughout your whole journey, you know, and where you are today, I know you did manage AJ Hearns, and you did, you know, lead a lot of people to the clubs and everything like that. But did you ever see yourself as a leader, or even becoming a leader in the industry you're in today?
I always looked at myself as a team player. Mm-hmm. So when I joined, it was like, how do we grow? How do we grow each other? It wasn't ever a me. Mm-hmm. It was a we.
When you joined real estate?
Real estate, okay. Yeah. When I was in the club, it was always a we. It was never a me. Like, I always surrounded myself with other people that had the same mentality. And then over time, I was like, I learned more about the real estate in teams and how they were built. And then I was like, you know what? I could do this. Like, I could do this with what I'm continuing to learn. If I could just duplicate this in other people, from a mindset standpoint, from a lead generation, how you prospect, and then how you build your business from a leverage standpoint. If I could just duplicate this and grow it, then we'll be good. And that's what we did.
And just keep on duplicating it, right?
Duplicating others. And then now it's figuring out how to create wealth for others. So how do we create that passive income for everybody in our organization to be able to say, okay, they bought this asset where they're able to get this much cash flow per month, per year. And then what is their lifestyle at? So it's one thing one of my coaches came and spoke to us last week about. He talked about, what is your lifestyle? What is that dollar amount? And then what does it cost you to just live, like your bills? What's that? What's the number when those are combined? Now, how do we create passive income to be able to hit both of those? How do we create the passive income to have the lifestyle and to be able to make it where you can live, to where you get that every month without working? So where you choose to work, you don't have to work.
Nice. And when you're exposed to new information, because I take it that you're continuously learning new things within your industry across the board, as far as you learning something, like you go to a seminar or a conference and maybe your whole team didn't go, but it's just like you want to be able to report what you learned to your team. Like, how soon do you jump in? How do you gather your information, or how do you relay over that information to them?
It matters the message, because there's, over time, when you get close with people, you could say something and it doesn't come off the same as unless they say it. Yeah. So I might have that speaker come speak to our team, because it could be the same message, different messenger, and it comes across different. Wow. I could sit there and tell them over and over again one thing, and then this one guy might come or lady come and say the same thing one time, and it clicks. Yeah. So it's understanding that with people, sometimes you need a different messenger to say the message that you're intending to get across. Yeah.
I would say maybe that, in a sense, maybe for someone that has an ego, that's putting that aside, or, not having an ego at all, because, allowing somebody else to do that for your team, I would say that would be good too. But as far as, going into marketing, what's your mindset on marketing?
Brand recognition. So, like, Malouff has always been, it's my last name, yet it's been a name around the country because of the Malouff brothers and certain other, it's a Lebanese, it's a big family in Lebanon. Yet I've always marketed Malouff since high school. And then when I got an 18 up, it was Malouff Entertainment. And then it was Malouff Marketing. And then we had MEOE, Malouff Entertainment, over everything. So there was like different things we did over the years. And then when I got in real estate, it was Malouff Properties. And then we changed it to Malouff International Group. So it's always been just the branding around that. So marketing is just something that I've done since high school. And it's had to pivot because of social media and everything. Yeah. Yet it's just gotten easier. It's actually easier now.
When you say pivot, like, what would you mean by that?
You had to learn the tech world. Had to learn, how to do things on the web. So back, like, say it was an event. Back in the day, you had to pass out 10, 20, 30,000 flyers to have the city know what's going on. Yeah. You had to spend, $10,000 on radio ads. You had to just really get it out there. Now you can spend, $500 on Facebook and $500 on Instagram, and it'll be in front of everybody. So it's a different air. We used to be big on MySpace, so we had a thing called Film Blaster that would blast it out on everybody's story all the time. So those were things that were cheat codes. Yet it's just, marketing is an essential. You got to figure out what you can do in any business to become the Coca-Cola and get the mind share. You learn a marketing class. It takes 7 times for somebody to see something to remember it. So how do you become the Coca-Cola of your market for whatever brand you're pushing?
And when you say see it 7 times, is that through 7 different views, maybe, or 7?
It could be 7 different platforms. They might see your logo or somewhere, like they might see it at the gym. Then they might see it on Facebook. Then they might see it on Instagram. Then they might see it in your barbershop. They might see it like it just being a lot of different places at a lot of times and getting the message across of what you do.
Did you know that that's what you were doing back in the day with your last name and, creating these teams and stuff?
I knew that we were brands. So even when you came to our parties, a lot of people that threw parties back then didn't have MCs. They didn't have somebody on the microphone. Yeah. So nobody really knew whose party it was until, unless they were invited.
Who's throwing it?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you have a lot of walk-in traffic. So for us, we were blasting the name every time you came in there, you heard Malouff Entertainment every 5 to 10 minutes.
Like on the DJ or
yeah,
something?
the MC. So
the MC.
all he did was on the mic. So we made sure we just got it in their head as much as possible. And then that way, when we were throwing our next party the next night, they remembered, Malouff Entertainment, so they would look us up.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how we got it out there. So for us, we do a lot of brand recognition now when it comes to our videos for real estate. We put out video content on a daily. And that's what Spree does on our team. He's our media director. He puts out different videos every day. So that's something we're big
on. Yeah, obviously he's doing something right. I see a lot of y'all's faces now. It's not just your face. I mean, it never was just your face, but I see a lot of your real estate agents putting out more content, and it's happening a lot more on my feed. So that's something that's going great. But as far as you, maybe with him or maybe somebody in the past, seeing eye to eye with somebody that's their specialty, and they're saying maybe they've told you, hey, you should do this, or told you should do this, and maybe you didn't agree with it in the beginning. Like how did you go about that, or what was your thought process?
It's having the right teachers in your life too. So it's first you have to entrust in somebody, because a lot of times people want to micromanage and do everything. Yeah, you could be a jack of all trades and a master of none. So when you learn to say, okay, that's not what I'm gifted at, that's not my specialty, and let it go, and let somebody that actually does work in that field and can shine, let them shine and let them have full control of that. That's when things get better and things start to look better for you and for any organization. That's how you grow. And that's how you create leverage.
Yeah, and what's it called? Of course, there's levels, right? Maybe at some point you're like the jack of all trades, but at some point you have to start delegating that work to people.
You have to. There's the book, The One Thing, and it talks about until your one thing is done, everything else is a distraction. So if you're doing all these other things, there's all these other distractions, and you're not focused on the one thing you should focus on. And
is what got you there.
Yeah, it talks about being like a stamp, sticking to one thing until you get where you're going.
And dealing with yourself, I don't know how heavy you were into technology, but maybe you feel like you could have done something better, or X, Y, and Z. How do you pull away? In those situations, if they're doing, maybe it's not social media, maybe it's something else in your organization that you delegated a job to.
It's having standards for those areas. So you have to create the standards to say, okay, these are the metrics that need to be hit. These are the numbers that need to be hit. And if they're not being hit, then you have to start putting 30-day, okay, this quarter we didn't hit what we need to do. In the next 30 days, we're going to be on a probation. And if we do not hit this in the next 30 days, we're not strict on the person, we're strict on the standards. So, and then you got to have standards for your business, because it's a difference between standards and suggestions. And if you have only suggestions, your business is never going to grow.
And how do you create those standards? How do you solidify them?
They're by numbers. So you have to know, so say it's real estate. And I know this is how much it costs for me to be able to run this business. And I know when an agent comes in, if we're not getting at least 5 deals a quarter from them, then we're probably losing money. So it's knowing hey, we need to be a profitable business, as well as we need you to be profitable, because you're not making money. So if you're not making money and we're not making money, then nobody's winning in that relationship at the moment. We might be winning in other parts of life, and we can still be friends and we can still hang out. We have to be able to grow each other. And then to say it was media, certain media things. Okay, are we shooting out this many videos? Are the videos going to hit this way? You got to know what's going on. Yeah. Consistency is what a lot of people lack, and figuring out what somebody needs to do as far as push them to be consistent is key. They got to have confidence, and they got to have character. Yeah, they got to have accountability. And accountability is what a lot of people lack when it comes to consistency, because they can say, oh, I'm going to be consistent, and then they're not consistent, and then they can't be accountable to others, and at worst, they can't be accountable to themselves.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. There was... So, after where you are now, maybe this may change, maybe it changed from when you first started, but what would you say 3 things like that you're known for in business? Like you, as a businessman or as an entrepreneur. I mean, I guess an entrepreneur.
What am I known for? I'm known for by staying. We're loud yet we're quiet. So like I might be loud the way I dress, yet I'm not a loud person. So staying calm. I think that's one thing I'm known for. Is just,
was that something that has always been there?
I think so. I mean, I know in middle school they said I had ADHD, so I don't know. Maybe because the Ritalin made me calm.
Yeah, calm you down.
Yet I think staying calm when situations happen, being a solution finder, finding solutions for when problems arise, and caring about others. Those are the three things that I would like people to think about me in business. If those were three things: wanting to see others succeed, finding solutions, and being calm no matter what comes my way.
And you feel that kind of describes you almost closely as a person as well? Those things are mainly for business. That's
really who I am.
Nice, man. Yeah, so I mean, I guess there was something I wanted to ask you, like as far as like obstacles or struggles along the way, like, you know, that you face in real estate. I know there was one, like the housing crash in 2009. You know, how did you go through that, or like what was your thought process?
So back then I wasn't in real estate yet, so
okay.
I was still promoting. I didn't even know there was a housing crisis because everybody was drinking, so everybody was out. In the club because there was a housing crisis going on. So I didn't know about it till I got into real estate. Yet, for me, things I've had to, you know, kind of get over and get through was when my mom passed away. That was a big one. When my grandfather passed away, they died 4 years apart, same day. So that kind of, it's a little bit of a weird coincidence. Yet it's not a weird coincidence. It's a blessing. Yet I learned that postponement can be permanent. So not to postpone things because you never know if it's going to be a permanent postponement.
You're saying like work-related things are like, what do you mean as far as postponing things?
So say somebody's calling you and say it's one of your family members and you're like, well, I'm going to keep working. I'll get back to them later. I'll call them later. You might not have that opportunity to call them later. Yeah. So for me, it's like, okay, I'm purposeful about my time. Let's say I'm going to be there at this time. I'm going to do this for this hour. That's where I'm at for that hour. Then I got to get to the next thing because I know the more you say yes to things, the more you're saying no to things. So you have to learn to be powerful. You have to learn the power of no. And you have to say no to things because not everything's good for you. And then when you start to say no to things, the things that are important to you, you start to say yes to more.
Nice. That's awesome, man. Yeah, I mean, I feel like we went over a lot of things. What would you say would be your best piece of advice for someone who's just starting? I saw a fresh new face of someone's first day today, our first week in your real estate group, you know. But for someone like that, or just in general, jumping into real estate, especially right now in this time, what would be, I guess, your best piece of advice?
Who you take advice from matters. Don't take advice from everybody because sometimes you don't want to be in that person's shoes. So learn where that person is really in business, learn where they are in their life, and say, would I want to switch positions with that person? Would I want to stand in that person's shoes on a day-to-day basis? And if you could tell yourself, yeah, that is somebody who I would love to stand in on a full spectrum of life, then take advice from them. Yet if somebody's telling you because of their limited beliefs certain things aren't going to work, you don't know if those things are really going to work or not. Because like in our industry, there's people that say, oh, open houses don't work. Don't do open houses. Yet I know people that make $1 million off of open houses, just with $1 million systems.
With the right teachers.
With the right systems and tools and consistently. That's all their team does. So it's not that it doesn't work. It just didn't work for them. Or they didn't do it enough. Or they didn't have the right tool. They didn't sharpen their tools enough to be able to go in there and get it done right. So who you take advice from is going to matter in any industry you're in. It's like someone going to the gym. Someone goes to the gym and they're like, oh, that don't work. You know, those type of workouts don't work. And you're like, Bro, I'm telling you, they work. I
Myself,
trained
yeah.
like 10 people myself that I see the results,
Mm-hmm.
and they're like, well, it didn't work for me. Well, because you didn't have the right trainer, you didn't have the right person mentoring you to be able to get you in shape like that. So they're not taking advice for the right person.
Yeah. So I think there's two questions, or there is something about building value. But before we go into that, we're just talking. What were we discussing right now?
We're talking about who you take advice from.
Who you take advice from. I lost it, man. Maybe I'll get back to it right now. But as far as building value, you know, I don't want to say the word sell, but, you know, whenever you're doing an open house or something of that sort, like something where you have to build value, like what would you say is the best way to do it?
Well, we don't sell, we serve. So we're here to serve. Our value comes in the service that we provide, customer service. So we figure out what it is that they're looking for. We use a system called FORD. FORD stands for family, occupation. We talk about their family, where they're from. We talk about their job. Recreation. We talk about where they work, what do they do for fun. Then we talk, the D stands for dreams, their goals. What is their goals? Everybody has different goals. Again, we're solution finders. So our goal is to figure out their goal and what's the timeline for us to be able to help them accomplish that. And then we put value behind that because of our knowledge. And then we take action.
Yeah. You know, so I notice you refer, like, and they make complete sense, and they just make everything seem more, like, not seem, but they easy to understand, you know, to communicate to someone. But how were you able to, or how are you able to reference back to these, you know, I guess, things that help you communicate information? Like, did it take you a long time, or
it took me time?
Practice, maybe.
The practice is one, and then processing different things for your mindset. So you have to shift your mind when things happen. Like if you look at fail as a negative word, what do you have to look at fail to make it a positive word? If you look at this word as you look at any word, what do you have to do to shift your mind about that word to make it positive? And then you shift it. Or what is a system you need to put that's going to be able to help you get through things too? Systems are big.
No, that's good, man. As far as communication goes, did you feel like you were always like a good communicator? I know you made connections with people, you connected people together, but as far as communicating with people, did you feel like that was always something you had?
I was always more on the one-on-one communicator. I was, even though I would have parties to 1,000+ people, I was still more of a one-on-one where they had the influence. Now I'm able to communicate in a larger scale and larger platforms. Yet that took time. I mean, there was times where you couldn't even get me on a talk like this because I would just be like, I'd be balled up. Like I wouldn't do it because I didn't have the practice. I didn't do it consistently enough. Now I'm consistent in public speaking. I'm consistent with being in front of people. I'm consistent dealing with issues that I'm able to help work through issues because there's not many issues that I don't deal with now.
Is there, like, for example, like, you know, maybe not so much today, but, you know, in other situations, or maybe a little bit today, you know, like as far as jumping in, like, would you say there's times where you jump into things, like not in a negative way, but like where you know you have to do it, you know, like you have to do something that's going to help you out. Not saying you know, I
mean, health is one.
Yeah.
Yet, another thing is like right now the market's shifting, and I have to dive in deep and just make sure that we're doing things that we're doing different. So the trips that I would go on, those are coming down to I was just on one, but at the end it was a speaking gig that we had in North Carolina. Yeah. So we were booked to go out there. Yet the trips that I would normally take, like Vegas and certain things, I'm cutting back on those to be able to focus on the business and say, okay, I'm here. What do we need to do here? You know, listings. We need to do price drops here. We need to do this there. There's opportunity for buyers here. Like we're figuring out solutions. So there's times where I have to dive back in deep just to get my legs, get everything wet. So.
Do you enjoy that? I know like problem solving is something that you like, but do you enjoy all that? You know, trying to figure things out, trying to make things run smoothly.
It matters the situation. Some of them I'm like, man, just leave me alone. Still gotta figure out the issue. Yeah, sometimes it's just like, just give me a little bit to think. Like sometimes.
Yeah,
And
because sometimes
you
you want
need
the
to
answer right then and there or something.
Yeah, sometimes you guys let other people think. Sometimes you just, you might let a situation go for a little bit, and it figures itself out.
Yeah.
Like you're like, you know what? Let me give that a couple hours and not even respond, and the answer is found without you even doing anything.
Wow.
So sometimes you have to do that too, so people figure it out themselves.
That's awesome, man. Well, yeah, no, I really do appreciate you coming on here, man. And
appreciate having me.
Yeah, speaking with me, man. And also too, like I gotta let the listeners know, like, when I had first met you, I had never, I guess officially met you. I met you at the first brawl here, or like the second brawl maybe, and that was pretty cool. But also like, whenever you had brought your son here to train, and he was here for that hour, like we sat down, and then I wasn't expecting to talk with you for an hour, but you literally we had like a little mentor session. I was asking you questions, and you were just so open with doing that. So I wanted to say thank you and appreciate that. That was awesome for you giving me that time initially before you even know more so who I was or what person I was.
Well, we see what you're doing from afar and now from close. Just watching it and seeing what people are putting together. We want to see everybody succeed, and that's one thing our team's about is, everybody in the workplace, in the marketplace, if everybody's winning and we're able to say, okay, hey, this person thinks like we do, let's talk to them about something we got going on. That's how we stay in connection in relationships. Relationships matter, and no matter what business you're in. And the beginning of relationship is the word relate. And we figure out how can we relate with somebody to be able to help them? How can we help them grow? And then, what does a win-win look like to them? And then that's how you build that connection.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, no, but again, I appreciate that for sure. But is there anything you'd like to add or any questions that you may have?
We're good. I mean, I'm happy to be here with you. I'm glad that you're doing this. I want to see it grow for you. I would love to see it grow for you.
No, yeah, I appreciate that.
We're always one call away. So we'll stay connected on it. And
yes, sir.
Maybe in a couple of years when things, continue to grow and grow, we can get back on another platform too.
And see where things are from there. That's awesome, man.
Appreciate it, brother.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you, man.
My guy.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it.